morning. I'm Bob Kobeck. I'm online with my good friend, David Costenbader. And it did take me a little while to make sure I pronounced his last name correctly. But now that I have learned to pronounce his last name correctly, I'm glad I did. David is the founder of the Contact Group, which is a town hall type communication system and platform. I'll let him explain a little bit more about what it does, and then I hope we can get into the discussion about the differences in the communication platforms that we're using today, Zoom, GoToMeeting, things like that. And David will show that he's a subject matter expert in that area, and so looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Hi, David. How are you, man?
Hey, good morning, Bob. I'm well. As we mentioned, hard to believe it's August 17th, where the summer's gone.
I know it. And, staring down the pipe at Notre Dame football, which, who's your college team?
I went to Georgetown University undergrad, so we had a Division III football team. So college football is not something I got into. I love college basketball. The year I happened to attend Georgetown, in 1984, they won the national championship with Patrick Ewing, who now is the coach. So that's really got my focus. I do like the NFL, but college football is not one of my real, passionate hobbies as far as sports are concerned.
I will pick it up if I have a chance to watch it on a Saturday afternoon. If my yard work is complete. So
your honey-do list?
Yeah, well, it's more of a Bob, get up and do these things. Particularly in the fall, we have a lot of big hardwood trees surrounding our house, and so leaves fall. So the important part about our conversation is about the idea behind town halls and telephone channels. When to use them, why to use them, and how to use them. So first thing, David, if we could let's talk about the Contact Group and how valuable it is, the services that you provide. Then we can do a nice overview of what others have.
Sure, Bob. And there's I think COVID really has brought into focus and also creating a relevance for virtual meetings and platforms. And we've been at this virtual platform, virtual meeting, virtual event, telephone town halls, teletown halls, total teleconference since 2005. So hard to believe it's been 15 years. Founded the company in 2001. We spent a lot of time in the political campaigns and election space where it's been used extensively. A telephone town hall is part of franking privileges now for all Congress women and men to allow them to engage their constituents. Kind of could be better than direct mail, different things like that. So we have done a lot of work in the campaigns and election space sector. We've done some work with nonprofits. And in 2019, we joined ARDA, and we are, trying to engage the hospitality vacation ownership sector at this time.
How are you? Hello, puppy. That's not the first dog we've heard on these Bobcasts. I have a couple of questions that, based on what you just said. First of all, explain franking privilege. I know what that is.
Yeah. That's so every congressperson, given the size of their district, and senator, I believe, has a budget that is appropriated to them. And they can use that specifically to engage their constituents. So a lot of times that has been in the past used for direct mail, different things like that. Our platform has gotten specifically approved. It's a proprietary platform for franking privileges. So a lot of the Congress people, if you would, men and women now, and senators use the platform to dial into their constituents and communicate and engage with them. So I think it's a much more effective use of money, and I'm really a big believer in more effective government. So
as just a matter of reference for everybody, the franking privilege, which you're probably used to seeing, is you may get a letter from your member of Congress that has his signature in the upper left-hand corner and no postage. His signature represents postage, right?
Right. Correct.
So So when you say franking privilege, what that means is that the taxpayer effectively helps pay for the communication back to them, which is, I would say, a very good thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
in this slide, what we talk about is moderated Q&A and polling capabilities. When you say moderated Q&A, as I remember, you actually have a live person taking questions and then allowing that participant to come in live. Is that?
That's accurate, Bob. So what is unique, and there's a lot of different solutions out there today. So it is kind of confusing to find the different features and benefits that best fit. And we'll talk a little bit about the event evaluation that we use to figure out the platform. But yeah, when someone raises their hand in our virtual platform, they go into a queue. A live person will take them out of the conference or the telephone town hall briefly, ask them what their question is, transcribe that question, and then they can also take notes. Like, this person is hard to hear, bad connection, or this person's angry. Not necessarily you wouldn't take that question, but the moderator of the event gets to pick and choose so that they don't necessarily stay on all one question that everyone has, or they can geographically potentially move around, take questions from this city, that city, different places. So it gives the moderator a control over the potential dialogue of the event, of the telephone town hall.
You're a little bit smarter. So many questions get bad answers because they weren't asked the right way or they weren't interpreted the right way. So, having a live moderator can make a big difference.
Yeah, that's correct. And also what's nice is when you take that question live, the audience gets to hear that person, like a radio call-in show, like a television call-in show, if you would. They get to hear that person empathize, you get to hear the question. And we think it's very powerful tool to increase the engagement. And a lot of the other platforms allow people to go live too, but they just don't have that screening up front with a live person capability.
Yeah, and that virtual raising of the hand can have some value if it's a smaller group. But when you get in a group of 50, 100, 1,000 people, you really do need that live moderator to do that. So let's just talk about some of your, I'll use the term perceived competitors, because there are always going to be significant differences in platforms. I know in our particular case, the difference between CustomerCount and Medallia is like night and day, but they also do a lot of the same things. And so oftentimes it's very difficult to distinguish the best need. You had mentioned earlier that you have a kind of a checklist of what would help me decide what platform is going to be best for any given situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do, Bob. And that's been developed and evolved. And it's kind of our secret sauce, if you would, over the 15 years we've been doing these. We call it an event evaluation form. When you're going to determine for a virtual event or virtual meeting, there's a lot of different options out there today. So, we think that it's important to evaluate the meeting, and we start with the communication objectives. Do you want to have a lot of audience participation and engagement, or is it just going to be kind of like a webinar information transfer with just your experts talking? We also talk about the pain points. What have you, in your past events, have you had a low turnout? Have you had challenges potentially playing a recorded video? Are your resources limited to put this event in play and to execute it? Then we talk about your budget. We've been using Zoom internally at the contact group for over 2 years, pre-COVID. Beautiful. We just re-signed up for $150 for a year. It's a very low investment, very good. You can set it up quickly. You don't need a whole lot of planning. I would say that, your audience, you need to know them too, is our third kind of checklist. And the size of that audience is very important. As you mentioned, if you're, I think GoToMeeting, Zoom, there's a lot of other ones out there. If you're looking at maybe 50 or 10 or hundreds, then those fit very well. If you're talking about thousands, then you really need to think about some different options. And our capacity, we have a Guinness World Record for the capacity. So we can handle thousands, tens of thousands of people for an event. And then finally, your timeline, how quickly do you want to get this up? I can do a Zoom meeting right now, instantly, or where other platforms might take a little bit more time, or the event might need some more planning. And then the last part of that equation would be budget, timeline, pain points, audience, and communication objectives. So I think we got all 5 of those. Just want to make sure I covered those. But that's very important up front. And we're more of a consultant when we want to help people, really choose the best platform. And we'd be happy to talk to folks if they wanted to. We don't fit everything. There's a lot of other options that fit better depending on going through that event evaluation form. So we feel that that's a really smart thing to do up front.
Yeah, that and so that will help determine whether or not that your platform is going to be best for them or not. And I think that's personally we do the same thing. There are times when we are too much club for the whole, and I'm sure there may be times when you're too much club for the whole.
Right.
So you can help them make the best selection. So, like, what are some of the other differences? Like, let's isolate.
Well, I think, yeah. Okay, Zoom. I think you can plan a meeting within minutes. I think that the convenience of it, people are used to it now. It's a low investment. It does have. I've been on some of the Zooms. This is back to the political space where they allowed people to join early, a smaller group. This was like a fundraiser for Governor Murphy out of New Jersey, and so. We joined early. He was able to manage that 20, 25 people he had early. And then at the designated time, he had 100, 200 people come on, which is, so he was very easy to manage the questions. You get to see everybody. You get kind of like what we call the Brady Bunch, everyone on the screen, which is good. So I think Zoom is very effective for that. We've been using GoToMeeting internally for project management. So some of the platforms, ours does not, has a breakout function, where you can break out into smaller teams. They can collaborate, come back to the meeting. So I think that's good for internal, type of project management, project orientations. So those are, I think, again, the capacity being a big one. How much engagement do you want? If someone raises a question, in Zoom, you can choose between which ones you want, but you really don't understand from a live person kind of that person's intonation, what they want to potentially say. So I think you can pick and choose if you go through this event evaluation form very quickly what might be the best fit for your particular event, virtual town hall, if you will.
So to be clear, I could be in your town hall platform, and then I want to do breakout sessions. I can break out, I can use GoToMeeting with your platform. Well,
actually, we've done some board of trustees meetings where they have done separate things, but it does kind of commit a kind of disconnect. So our platform is really not good for breakout meetings. Our platform is really a one-to-many solution, whereas Zoom and GoToMeeting are more focused on that breakout type of solution.
So I can be on yours and use theirs also.
You could, yes. And we also integrate to the client's website. So we'll stream video to the client's website. We just did a new program and a new client called OATS, which is an AARP affiliate. It calls Older Adults Technology Services. So the CEO was in New York. We streamed video for them. Had 2 people in San Antonio. And we engaged about 1,200 people in the San Antonio, city. So they went through the different options they have, talked about some of the ways to, get high-speed internet. So there's some differences there. We also dial out, invite people, which some of these platforms I don't believe have that function. But they went to oats.org/townhall to actually view it if they wanted to view it, the streaming video, instead of just using the Zoom link. We think there's some value potentially to driving your clients to your website too.
Oh yeah, well, good old SEO discussion. That you and I and every business owner that I know of is always having with their web people. So my question then is with the event evaluation form, what we're suggesting is that they can reach out to you and you'll go through this with them as a consultant. And if you land on your solution, great. I mean, not great, wonderful, I should say. So
Yeah. We'd be more than happy to do that. It takes maybe 5 minutes. Myself and one of our team members would be happy to, go through. We like to, schedule a quick call and understand, walk through that. But we can also send the form to people if they'd like and let them view it too beforehand. It really takes 5 minutes to get a concrete understanding of those factors and those drivers for finding the right fit.
David, you and I are a couple of guys that own technology companies that still use the telephone to talk. Isn't that amazing?
I thought that would go away, but I think COVID has brought phone. I still like to hear conversation, but it's brought phone back. Texting is still out there a lot more. But what's nice about a good virtual event is engaging, Bob. It's a dynamic exchange from the host to the audience. Okay, and it's not a static email, it's not a static text. And if you can really engage them with poll questions and taking some questions live, and having a good communication objectives, calls to action. We can do tickers on the bottom of the screen. We really produce kind of like a television show if you want to go to that route. We can do a simple audio version too. So there's a lot of different flavors and a lot of different platforms out there that can be confusing, and we would help the person that has a need for this determine because it's part of their marketing budget now potentially, right? So am I going to do the direct mail? Am I going to do the email campaign? Or am I going to do this virtual event? So where does this play into that? And maybe there's room for all three, or maybe there's only room for the virtual event, but that might get me better engagement, get me better results.
Well, if I'm a publicly traded company, David, or if I'm a company that wishes to become publicly traded, the more sophistication I can put to a presentation, the better. I don't, at that point it becomes, you bring it all,
right,
make it all
right,
happen,
right,
and as much shine on it as you possibly can.
Sure. And Bob, we have a phrase internally, instead of keep it stupid, simple, we say keep it smart, simple. So, and what's nice about, if we go through the event evaluation, you determine that we might be the best fit. Well, we produce everything for you. So you don't have to bring external resources. We just did an event on the 12th of August for CPS Energy, and they went out to their different audiences and wanted to talk about their 4 pillars of communication in the audience, in the community too, because of the ice storm that happened in February. They lost power to everyone, so they're trying to restore confidence. And how do you build confidence and loyalty? You got to engage in a genuine conversation. It's not static emails, it's not text. If you can bring your customers to the table and value their input and engage in that genuine conversation, and you can really, I think, make a big difference into your communication objectives, into your marketing plan.
Now brings us to equally as important part of the podcast.
Yes.
Something that I'm is something that is really always critically important to me, and that is the charity of choice.
Yes.
And as is customary, when we're finished, I will make sure that I contribute $50 to your charity of choice, which is Children's Incorporated. Why don't you tell me about it?
Sure, Bob. I think I'd love to, because it's something, I'm very passionate about. And for much that are given, much is expected, and I think COVID has taught us all a lesson about, humility and really understanding what's important in life. And it's not necessarily the material things. If you can make a difference in a person's life, and especially children, then I think that's a blessing. I think you get more out of it personally than the person you're helping. So Children Incorporated, I learned about, this is going to date us a little bit, for Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, which was a national bestseller back in the 80s, I think. And he mentions in that book about Children Incorporated. It's actually based outside of Richmond, Virginia. So I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia. It was neat to understand a little bit about a charity that's based in my state. My late wife and I have sponsored 3 children for 20 years. And it's a very simple thing to do. It costs about $28 a month per child. And then you get to potentially give them a little bit of money for Christmas. So we've been sponsoring 3 children. I'm going to read something here because I just got a letter from them. It says, "Dear David and Elizabeth, behalf on children," and this is a handwritten letter, Bob. This is also very, very rare in this day and age. But on behalf of Children, Inc., I want to thank you for your generous support of Julia, who lives in Brazil, Yeon, who's in Korea, obviously that's South Korea, and Ian, who's in Chile. Individuals like you make it possible for us together to continue to enrich children's lives. Sincerely, Magda Kegley. So that's the Children's Inc. I don't know if you can see that, the letter, but that to me just makes the effort that we all do to a daily basis that much more enriched.
So explain, if you would, here, wait a minute, as I get it up, explain this.
Okay, so that's part of the exchange. It's kind of old school. You're not on Facebook, and you're not just getting pictures. They encourage the child that you sponsor to write a letter to their sponsor, which is nice. So you get on occasion different letters with different pictures in there from the sponsor. They will go ahead and give you the translation of it, which is important too. And then you can turn around and write them too, in response to that. I've done that a couple of times. A lot of the people that are very involved, and Roseanne Cash, Johnny Cash's daughter, I think, is on their board of trustees. And they've also passed all the, qualifications to be like a 5-star charity. I think like 85% of every dollar you give goes to the actual child, and they partner with different homes, if you would, children places in the different countries. So that's where they get the maximum impact. So it's nice to see this. I put them on the refrigerator door in my daily battles. I look at them and I'll smile and I feel a little bit better about life.
What's the artwork? Do you know? I see rain.
Rain. I think he's praying for rain, maybe in crops. I think that with as a lot of people are in the western part of our country now. That's my interpretation of it. And it's nice to understand, to try to interpret something like that.
Yeah, well, that's really beautiful, David. Congratulations. So where we are here, and naturally this will be on our YouTube channel with David and the contact group. David, here, let me see if I can get back to it here. Here you go. Here's your website and David's email address. So if you want to talk to David about that, about the evaluation form, you can get a hold of him at dc@contactgroupusa.com. And his website, you also can, when you access this on YouTube, you will be able to click to the website. It's interactive. So, David, let's put a little wrap on this thing, and I will first of all say thank you. I appreciate it. It was insightful. Now I know the difference, and I know what to use. I've been thinking hard and fast about putting together a specific event for my company and our software. So it gives me a good idea of where to even start, let alone finish up. So I appreciate your time. And you got any last words?
Bob, I appreciate you inviting me to this. Always enjoy engaging in a real conversation. Again, that's what we live on day in and day out for our clients. I still get up every morning excited about what we're doing and how we're helping our clients, assisting in their communication objectives, and look forward hopefully to seeing you maybe at the Art of Fall conference. Hopefully. I would say one other thing too, that the Delta variant is changing a lot of things quickly. We also offer a hybrid event, Bob, which is unique. We can do a video stream of the actual physical event and then bring in the virtual component. And a lot of people, I think, see the value in that now because they can't project what's going to happen in 30 days. So it's been a pleasure of mine to, take some of my 15 years experience that I've done with these virtual events. Hopefully we've clarified some of the fog that's out there a little bit, and we'd be happy to talk to anybody that wants to go through that event evaluation.
Well, I really appreciate your time, David. Thanks a bunch.